Barron Trump had grown used to the opulence that surrounded his life. Being the youngest son of a billionaire and a former president of the United States came with privileges that most people could only dream of. Yet, despite the wealth and constant media attention, Barron was a quiet, thoughtful teenager who preferred to stay out of the limelight. One chilly December afternoon, Barron decided to take a walk through Central Park. The holiday season was in full swing, and the city was alive with lights, music, and bustling crowds. He pulled his coat tighter around himself as he strolled along the pathways, enjoying the crisp air and a rare moment of solitude. As he neared a bench by a frozen pond, Barron noticed a man sitting alone, his head bowed and his hands clasped together. The man's clothes were tattered, his shoes barely holding together, and a small cardboard sign rested by his feet. It read, "Homeless, hungry, anything helps." Barron's heart sank. He had seen homeless people before, but there was something hauntingly familiar about this man. As he moved closer, the man lifted his head, and their eyes met. Barron froze in his tracks. "Mr. Carter?" Barron said, his voice filled with disbelief. The man's eyes widened. "Barron? Is that really you?" It was indeed Mr. Carter, Barron's former history teacher from his private middle school. Mr. Carter had been one of Barron's favorite teachers. He had a passion for storytelling and made history come alive in the classroom. But seeing him here, disheveled and struggling, was a shock. What happened to you?" Barron asked, sitting down beside him. Mr. Carter sighed heavily, his breath visible in the cold air. "It's a long story, Barron. After I left the school, I had some personal issues. Lost my job, my home, everything. It's been a tough few years." Barron's mind raced. He remembered how kind and patient Mr. Carter had been with all his students. It was hard to reconcile the man who once stood confidently in front of a classroom with the person sitting before him now. "Why didn't you ask for help?" Barron asked. Mr. Carter gave a sad smile. "Pride, I suppose. And shame. It's not easy to admit you've fallen this far." Barron nodded, understanding the weight of those words. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Let me help you. We can figure something out." Mr. Carter hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden, Barron. You've got your own life to live. You were there for me when I needed help understanding history," Barron said firmly. "Now it's my turn to be there for you." Touched by Barron's sincerity, Mr. Carter finally nodded. Together, they walked to a nearby cafe, where Barron ordered them both warm meals and hot coffee. Over the meal, Mr. Carter opened up about his struggles, losing his wife to illness, the mounting medical bills, and how one misfortune after another had led him to the streets. Barron listened intently, his resolve to help growing stronger with each word. By the time they finished eating, he had a plan. "First, we'll get you somewhere warm to stay tonight," Barron said. "Tomorrow, we'll figure out the rest." They found a nearby shelter, and Barron made sure Mr. Carter was checked in and comfortable. As he walked back to his family's apartment that evening, Barron's mind was already racing with ideas on how to help his former teacher rebuild his life. The next day, Barron spoke to his parents about Mr. Carter. His mother, Melania, was deeply moved by the story, and his father, Donald, listened carefully before nodding. "Let's see what we can do," Donald said. "No one should be left out in the cold, especially someone who's made a difference in young lives." With his family's support, Barron arranged for Mr. Carter to meet with a social worker who could help him access resources and services. They found him temporary housing, and Donald even connected him with an old friend who ran an educational non-profit organization. The friend offered Mr. Carter a position as a mentor for at-risk youth, leveraging his teaching experience and passion for helping others. Over the weeks that followed, Mr. Carter began to regain his footing. With a stable job, a roof over his head, and a renewed sense of purpose, he started to smile again. Barron visited him often, checking in to make sure he was doing well. One afternoon, as they sat together in a small park near Mr. Carter's new apartment, the former teacher turned to Barron with tears in his eyes. "I don't know how to thank you," Mr. Carter said. "You didn't have to do any of this, but you did. You saved my life, Barron." Barron shook his head, his voice steady. "You've helped so many people in your life, Mr. Carter. It's only right that someone helps you when you need it. And besides, what kind of person would I be if I just walked away?" The two shared a quiet moment of understanding, the bond between them stronger than ever. For Barron, it was a powerful reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could change someone's life. And for Mr. Carter, it was proof that hope could be found in the most unexpected places. The experience left a lasting impact on Barron. Inspired by Mr. Carter's resilience, he began volunteering at local shelters and advocating for programs to help the homeless. His actions sparked conversations about empathy and responsibility, showing the world that even in a life filled with privilege, true wealth came from helping others. As Mr. Carter settled into his new role, he found that his story resonated deeply with the youth he worked with. Many of the young people he mentored had faced their own struggles with homelessness, poverty, or broken families. Knowing that someone who had been in their shoes was now helping them gave them a newfound sense of hope. One day, Mr. Carter invited Barron to visit the non-profit organization where he worked. Barron eagerly agreed, wanting to see firsthand the impact his former teacher was making. When he arrived, he was greeted warmly by the staff and the young people Mr. Carter mentored. "This is Barron," Mr. Carter said, introducing him to the group. "He's the reason I'm here today." The kids looked at Barron with admiration, some even clapping. Barron felt a mix of pride and humility. He spent the day talking with the young people, listening to their stories, and sharing his own experiences. By the end of the visit, he felt more inspired than ever to continue making a difference. That evening, as Barron reflected on the day, he decided to take his efforts a step further. With the support of his family, he started a foundation aimed at providing resources and opportunities for homeless individuals and families. The foundation partnered with organizations like the one Mr. Carter worked for, amplifying their impact and reaching even more people in need. The foundation's first major project was a fundraising gala hosted at one of the Trump family's properties. Barron worked tirelessly to organize the event, reaching out to influential figures and businesses for support. The gala was a resounding success, raising millions of dollars for homeless shelters, job training programs, and educational initiatives. Mr. Carter was a guest of honor at the gala, and when he took the stage to share his story, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. He spoke about the day he met Barron in the park, how that simple act of kindness had changed his life, and the importance of helping others in their darkest moments. "None of us can predict where life will take us," Mr. Carter said, his voice steady but emotional. "But what we can do is choose to lift each other up when we're down. Barron taught me that, and now I try to pass it on every day." The audience gave him a standing ovation, and Barron felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He knew this was just the beginning of his journey to make a difference in the world. Over the years, Barron's foundation grew, expanding its reach and helping countless individuals and families. Mr. Carter became one of its most dedicated advocates, traveling across the country to share his story and inspire others to take action. Together, they proved that compassion and determination could create real, lasting change. Through it all, Barron and Mr. Carter remained close friends. Their bond was a testament to the power of kindness, showing that no matter where life takes you, it's never too late to make a difference.